All right, so today what we're going to talk about is um, continuing how to use the pen tool and some strategies just to keep you more organized as you begin to build more complex illustrations. Some of these include just proper grouping, use of the alignment tool, the Pathfinder tool, and just reinforcing the importance of the layers panel. So at this point, what I have in front of me is a set of scissors that I've placed and I've locked, and I've traced over them in a separate layer. You can see that I've labeled it just to keep things clear and easy to find. And I have two shears that I've drawn. And take note that I've drawn them as separate objects. So this is a separate path and this is a separate path, because these two objects, since they move, we want to be able to move them when we copy and paste them and position them on the whiteboard. So rather than drawing one object multiple times, if we draw two objects, we can just continually reposition them as we see fit. Now, a quick reminder, I traced the outside, but you'll see the circle kind of comes and goes. If I click on it, I can move it. Now that's a problem because right now, even though this circle looks like it's this negative space, it's not embedded as such. It thinks of it as a shape. So as a reminder, what you need to do is select both objects, which we've done, and use the Pathfinder tool and click the second one in, which is minus front. That just makes a compound path so that this becomes a hollow shape. So if we replace this set of scissors over another set of scissors, we'll see through it. And just do the same to the one below it. Great. Now, at this point, I also encourage you just to label what these are. So this one, if we look here, is the lower shear. So we're just going to write that. And the other one's going to be top shear. Great. Next, what you're going to do, let's just select these, and let's set the fill to black. If you go up to the top and click the drop down, remember the first one is the fill, the one next to it is the stroke or the outline. So we're just going to set the fill to black, which will make them a little easier to see and easier to build on top of. So looking at these, the first easy identifiable thing that we can do is draw that little circle. So if we go to our tool panel and select the ellipse tool, which we already have selected, and we're going to set the fill to white in this instance. Make sure your object's deselected. Set the fill to white. And while you're drawing, I encourage you to lock the image that you're drawing on top of, just to keep things a little bit simpler for you. Otherwise, you might accidentally grab an anchor point, move an object. So now that that image is locked, go in and draw a little circle. And remember, if you hold shift, that keeps it to scale. Great. Now, there's this little highlight around the top of the scissor, as well as this sort of highlight right here. And because this is locked, it's going to be easy for us to go into and draw them. So if we select P for pen, what we're just going to do is draw a little shape that kind of replicates that white there. Great. And the next thing we're going to do is draw some white right around the outside. Turn off the fill. Remember, hit V to deselect. And then let's set the stroke to white because we're only dealing with black and white. And we're going to make the stroke a little bit wider. And we're going to play with the path so it's not uniform. All right, and already this is starting to look like a pretty identifiable set of scissors. We're also going to do the same to the bottom shear. At this point, we can unlock this one. And because I want all of these to stay collective, I don't want to move this, right? And now I've lost this information. What you can do is if you click and drag and select your entire object or everything in it, the other thing that you can do is if you hold Shift, you can go by and independently select each individual path. Then you'll right click, or if it's a Mac, it's going to be Control click, and you're going to just group them together. And once you've hit group, these will stay together wherever you put them until you tell it otherwise. And if you want to ungroup your objects, let's say that now that you've repeated your scissors, you want to put more white in one or lose some white, all you have to do is right click again or Control click and just hit ungroup. So it's very much like the image trace process. Awesome. So the next thing that we're going to do is just add a little bit of white to this. So we're going to lock it. And there's a highlight that goes around it. So we're just going to draw that. Turn off the fill for now. And just tweak it a little bit. Hit V. Click the object a second time if you don't have the path options, and then just go and set the stroke. And voila. So now what we're going to do is just bring this, we'll unlock it. And remember, this is just a fundamentals. You can make these incredibly complex if you wish to. This is just to get a sense of how to begin doing that. So unlock your shape, select them both, right click, group them together. And you'll notice that now that these are grouped, it put the bottom image on the top. So if I bring this over like this, it covers up my shear. There are a few ways to address that. You can, in the layers panel, just click the one that's on the bottom and grab it and drag it and lift it up. And that flips the order. The other thing that you can do is if you just want to move something, if you select the object and right click or control click, there's an option that says arrange. And with that selected, you can bring things to the front, send them to the back, or just bring it up a layer. So that would bump it up one layer versus putting it all the way at the top. Either works equally effectively, it's just a matter of preference. And